Okay, so it is 2:30 a.m. 23rd of March. Today's video diary is for the 22nd. So the business that me and my business partner started up, it's going pretty slowly, so we're doing a little change of plan. So we're gonna do a subscription-based model instead, right? Which I have a lot of hope for because we had a chat, and honestly, it sounds like something that would really, really work because the demand is there. You know, the logistics are so much easier to manage. It's so much cheaper, right? It's so much cheaper. The value's there, so we really feel like it's gonna work. So pretty excited about that. Uh, and I had the sales meeting again, learned a couple of things, which is great. Learned this thing called pre-handling, which I didn't know about. Pre-handling apparently is where you handle objections before the objections even come up. So one thing that is a crowd favorite is, so before hopping into this, what fears would you have about this program? Or let's say I'm selling you the social media service, right? So before partnering up or before working together, what fears do you currently have about working together? Or what fears do you currently have about Facebook? Or what fears do you currently have about this? Or what this, or this, or this, or this? And then you can handle them before you get those objections. And then once you give them the price, it's like there's no more objections apart from just the price objection. Right? So and most of the time, if you've done the pre-handling and all the value is there and you've built the gap, then there won't even be a price objection. So I thought that was pretty cool. Right. I've got a sales meeting next Tuesday, so hopefully that one goes well. I'm gonna use some of these things that I've practiced. So today, what am I gonna talk about? Today I'm gonna be talking about flexibility. Okay. No, you know what? Fuck flexibility. Fuck flexibility. I'm going to be talking about standards, okay? Now, people that are watching this video, you got to ask yourself, what are your current standards for yourself? And a lot of you are going to lie to yourself saying that your standards are high. But if you look at yourself in the mirror and you're not where you want to be, then your standards are probably way too low. That's a pretty harsh statement that I made there, but the truth is the truth. And I follow by the motto of complete and extreme ownership, trying to be responsible for literally everything. Because if you're responsible for everything, you have control over everything. Now, obviously, take that and don't be retarded with it, right? Don't take that piece of advice and go being being stupid with that piece of advice. Take a grain of salt, because obviously there are some things that are out of your control, right? You have no control over how someone else is feeling before they even met you, right? Let's say someone runs up to you and I don't know, let's say someone runs up to you and punches you in the face. To be honest, you still have some level of control over that, because let's say you could have been looking around, you could have been more aware of your surroundings, and you could have avoided that from happening in the first place. Maybe. What's something that you don't have control over? The weather. If a tornado rips your house apart. Yeah, if a tornado rips your house apart, obviously you can't do anything about that. But in most situations, you have some level of control, so don't relinquish that over to anyone, right? You have some level of control over pretty much everything. So that means that you can set your standard on pretty much everything. So if your standard is this high, that means that everything around you, since most of the things that you can control are in your control, they will elevate up to your standard if truly your standards are this high. But if they're not this high, chances are everything around you is going to be where your standards are. How do people speak to you? Do they speak to you with respect? Because I can promise you, if they don't, that means your standard for them isn't a standard that demands respect. How do you treat yourself? Do you tell yourself you're going to do something and not do it? Maybe start with that. Everything starts from your standards. Do you keep your own word? Do you maintain your physical health? Do you maintain your mental health? And here's the thing, right? Now I'm on the topic of mental health. Here's the thing. A lot of people say, oh yeah, but for good mental health, you need to give yourself a break. I completely disagree. I think mental health comes from self-respect and self-love. And I think you can only get self-love if you respect yourself, right? You can't love yourself if you don't respect yourself. And I think you can only respect yourself if in your eyes, you are someone that you respect. Makes sense, right? Because you're not just yourself. You are someone that you are also observing. So, let's say you switched lives with someone that you respect tremendously. How much self-respect and self-love would you have with that, right? And I don't mean in a sense of you switch lives and you want to go back to your life because you're so confused about what has happened. I'm talking about if you could click your fingers and become someone you respect. How much would you love yourself? Now, I would argue that if you have that self-respect and you have that self-love, then your mental health is never going to be below neutral. Maybe not neutral, but you'll be sad sometimes. Obviously, shit happens, but you'll never be, super depressed, right? You'll never be chronically depressed. That's not something that's going to happen because you have too much self-respect for that, right? Let's say something happens in your life. Of course, you're going to be sad, but you're not going to let yourself go because you respect yourself. Just like how if you have a kid and someone in your family dies and you're ridiculously sad, but you're not gonna let that kid let themselves go. You're not gonna stop feeding that kid. You're not gonna stop bathing that kid. You're not gonna stop looking after the kid because you love the kid. You want to take care of him. You have a duty of care over him. You respect that. Imagine you had that for yourself. Now, that doesn't just come with a click of your fingers. That comes over hours and days and taking one's foot in front of the other and building yourself up to become that person that, number one, has that high standard, and number two, someone that you respect. So what's stopping you?